Hi, W8BEN form is one of the difficult forms that you might encounter if you're starting a company or if you're working with somebody in the US. So there are two variants of this. So if you're an individual, you would use the same W8BEN form, but it clearly tells it's individuals. But if you're an entity, you're going to look at something that looks like this. Yeah. So this is for somebody, it could be you're living in India or Canada or any other place. If you're having a private limited and looking to do it on your own for a small company, and you work with somebody in the US, then you would have to fill this form. Yeah. So let's look at the way to look at. So definitely this tells that it's not meant for a US resident. So that's clear, and it's for entities. So I'm filling this as a private limited company in based out of India. So, but this should be same for anybody living in other parts of the world. Yeah. First thing, you enter your name of the company. It's pretty straightforward, and where you want to which country it's based out of, right? And then this one is actually an optional field. If you're only having a single owner, this applies, but for the most parts you leave this as blank, number 3 field. Yeah. Now looking at number 4, so usually it's a corporation if you're going to be a private limited, but if not, depending on that, you might go into partnership. But other things are usually not really relevant, if you're like a private company, so you can ignore that. And even this part is also you can ignore on this number 4. Yeah. Now, the fifth one is the most complicated one. I spent hours reading about this. So, Chapter 4 status is something very, very complicated, and people. So, for beginners, FFI is a foreign financial institution. So, definitely, if you're a financial company, and doing business, somebody like a PayPal or a bank, would fall under this, right? But most of you, if you're watching this video, you're probably not going to be part of that. So, FFI is definitely out. So, most of these are not relevant. So, the one that would come to you is something as active NFFE. So what NFFE stand for? It's non-financial, foreign entity. So what it means is that you are a non-financial company, first thing, and the active part is basically your active income is coming from non-financial activities and non-rental activities. So for you to check this box, there is two conditions. One is 50% of your revenue, 50% or more of your revenue should come from non-passive sources. What it means is that, let's say, passive sources could be income coming from rental properties, or revenue coming from interest and other sorts of things. So if you're a real estate company, and managing properties, then you would not select this. But if you're like a AdSense, or an advertising company or a software provider or any of these kind of things, right, you would very likely fall into this, because more than 50% of your revenue is coming from active sources like active income, not really like a rental or such kind of income, right? So that's why you would fall under this active NFFE. And the second condition for active NFFE is 50% or more of your assets should be in active generating assets, right? Like active revenue generating assets. So you can't have more than 50% of your assets that generate passive income. Example could be, you can't hold 50% of your properties that generate like rental income, or any of your like fixed deposits, whatever, right? Or bonds, things like that. But to make your life simple, basically most of you would fall under active NFFE. Yeah. So which is what, if you're a private limited or partnership company, whatever, you fall under this. Yeah. So here is pretty standard. You put in your address, your country, and things like that. And if the mailing address is different, you go here. Now coming to the other part, basically is tax identification number. If usually this used to be mandatory in the past, but you don't need an employee identification number anymore. So you could directly select this part, foreign tax identification number. So if you're from India, you would have this as PAN number, permanent account number, which is tied to your company. So you would fill that. But depending on your country, you would fill in that the tax part. So that's it. Now, after this, you are basically going to go to the third part, nothing to do in the middle, because that's FFI. So here is where tax treaties come into the picture, right? So usually if you're from a country like India, Canada, Australia, any of these countries, most of these advanced, economies or growing economies are part of the tax treaty with the US. So usually you would select yes for this, and you would put in your country here, India, Canada, or whatever, right? And if you're going to select the B part as well, because you're going to use that taxation benefits as well. So you could go to IRS site. I'll put the link in the chat, in the description, so that you could go and check the tax table. So there is a tax table that talks about how which countries fall under this tax treaty. So you could check that. But for the most part, you would check yes for both of these. After you're done with this, there is nothing you need to fill. All you need to do is you need to really scroll down to the question. This is all basically informational, so you don't have to do anything. So it's basically you go all the way down, all the way down to XX5, which is the one you checked for NFFE, right? So this is the one that so here you certify that you are an active NFFE. So here it clearly talks about that you're a foreign entity and not a financial institution, and less than 50%. I told it's over 50%, but it's another way of saying the same thing. So it tells that less than 50% of your gross income for the preceding calendar year is passive income. Means you should not have more than 50% of your revenue coming from passive income. Similarly, assets as well, right? You can read that. Yeah. So that's it. You check that box. And now after this, you're going to just come to the last part. So here certification, that's it. So all you do is you check this. You need to have authorization to sign this. Basically, you need to be somebody like a like a CEO or a director in the company. So if you're a private limited, you would be director or a managing director, and then you would actually put in your sign here. You print this form and you sign it and print your name and basically, and then put in the date. So that's about it. It can be very tricky when you're dealing with this, so it can be confusing. So, but nothing to panic. If you're a small company registered, you could actually follow these instructions. I'm going to put a URL which has how to guide that I've put like step by step and screenshots and everything. You can check that article as well. But if you're an individual, you would actually fill in this form, that says individual. So not to be confused with this, you have to be clearly look at this. It's an individual form. Yeah. So that's it. Thank you folks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.